Hey everyone, welcome back to the next episode where we're going to talk about Battletech. And what you see here, it's not all the mechs I own, but it's kind of like almost a best in show. Well, not really a best in show because I'm sure I have others that are painted better, but these are the ones that I like the most. Uh, in the front, this huge section here is the thing that if you're a Battletech player who collects and paints the miniatures, it's a thing that you do. You build your own personal dream mercenary unit. Because in the Battletech universe, mercenary units are everywhere, and in the story it sort of makes sense. But I've got all my robots, I've got my aerospace fighters over here, I got the spaceships, all the infantry. These are actually micro machines that I sort of halfway painted up to take the places like my logistics supply lines. Because the way I play BattleTech, or the way I work with BattleTech, is I not only did I play the tabletop tactics, I also went into like all of the optional rules set, and I'll show you some of the books that I've got. And again, I'm not going to show you all the books because I have way too many. But we're also going to talk a little bit about some of the other stuff. Like over in this corner. None of these are official Battletech miniatures. They're all bits and pieces from scrap and other stuff that I've painted up. Because in the Battletech universe, there's this place called Solaris. And it's kind of like a giant gladiator arena for robots. And I always thought that was really cool, so what I did is I would make all these little custom things to throw at it. Most people who play Solaris, they just pick off the shelf battle mechs and play them. And that's a good way to work. That's fun. But I always like doing what they call kit bash. That's where you take little bits and pieces and stick them together. Of course, what I also did is I took bits and pieces from other franchises like Heavy Gear. Get this guy in frame. This is a Heavy Gear mech that I have modified and painted. See, it says kill. Anyway, I did this with a bunch of other ones, like let's see which one is really fun looking. Oh yeah, this thing. But there's bits and pieces here, all put together to make whatever this is. I don't really remember too much. But it's all just, like I said, it's just lots of bits and pieces all glued together to make whatever these monstrosities are. And they work in game. Some of them are pretty good. Some of them suck, but a lot of them are pretty good. What else have I got up here? Yeah. I like these two because they're what is referred to as the urban mech. At least that's the name of it anyway. What I like about it is the bases that I painted to look like actual like asphalt in a city or something. Thought that was real fun. Which is why they're out here. They're not really that great. They don't really have the greatest paint job in the world, but they're fun. And these guys over here, they are my pirates, space pirates. And again, in the universe, it makes sense. Out in space with giant robots, you've got thieves, and these thieves, pirates, steal stuff like giant robots. I don't know if this guy. Yeah, there we go. This guy right here, this guy is real fun. Mostly because I manipulated his hand to look like he was making a rude and obscene gesture. I'm sure you can tell. Because it fits with the theme of. Oh, I got this. The theme. This guy is painted to look like he's just bits and pieces glued and tacked on. Like he's been maintained by someone who doesn't really fully know what they're doing. Now I said I wasn't going to go over every single mech, and I'm not. But these three here are somewhat important because back in the sometime in the 1990s, there was a cartoon. Very short-lived. It was one season. It was based on Battletech, and these are three of the mechs that were in the show. We had the main bad guy, the secondary bad guy, and then we had the hero. I can't remember any of their names, but it was an okay TV show. I mean, it was your classic Saturday morning cartoon show. I mean, they even made actual plastic toys. I mean, look at this thing. I actually bought this. I had it. It originally was supposed to be you press this and the leg would pop off. This is normal. It's supposed to do this. But because it's old and I played with it, it's falling apart. It doesn't actually work that way anymore. And there were originally like little spring-loaded things that you would press and they'd shoot out. They're gone. The mechanism's gone. This guy has been repaired so many times. The plastic has gone from light gray to dark gray. It's oxidized, and well, it looks like an old giant robot. It's the only Battletech toy I ever had. So, moving right along, we're going to go into the rest of the Battletech stuff. We'll go down away. Again, as I said, it was a short-lived cartoon show, and this is the source book for the cartoon show. And there's, you can see the back. You can see that. There's not a whole lot in it. But yeah, see, it goes into all the details about what was going on in the show. Oh, there we go. See? Painted up. And the colors and everything. Oh, there we go. There's the guys. There's the cartoon show people. I don't remember who was who and who did what. Because ultimately, like I said, it was your average throwaway Saturday morning cartoon show with cheap production values. But going into Battletech proper, I have the hardbound Master Rules set. And I do have the just the regular softbound, but I'm not going to bring that out because I have this very nice hardcover. So, but what? It's not. That's not. But I do have a very. This is. I'm not talking very well. This is the oldest Battletech book that I have bought. Not the oldest Battletech book I have, but it's the oldest one I bought. And it goes into here we go. The Atlas, one of the flagship models of the universe for most of its early life, and it is a really cool one. But anyway, this is the book that really got me into Battletech. All the really cool artwork. That was really cool. I've had this one a long time. But like I said, that's not the oldest book I own. The oldest book I own is one that I bought through eBay. And this is from back in the 80s when Battletech was new. So this was actually one of the factions you could play as. And I don't know if they've reprinted this or rewritten it. But yeah, the original company, FASA, no longer owns Battletech. It is now WK Games, part of FanPro, or it's the other way around. I couldn't keep any of that straight. All I know is that I like Battletech. This was not reprinted yet when I wanted it, so I bought the old one. which is still technically valid with the rules. And going with old books, some of the old stuff that is not reprinted. I mean, this is the second printing of this one, and it's missing some of the early designs because of legal reasons. In the first generation of Battletech, they used artwork from a couple of various animes. I know one was Macross. They used a lot of images from Macross, the Japanese anime, and then the company that originally owned that didn't really like it, so they re-released the second version of this version, which is the one I have, 3025. This is one that I bought off the internet. It had to be rebound because it fell apart, but it's early stuff, which is mostly some vehicles, a couple of mechs, but what is also really cool is it has space warships for use in one of the other versions of Battletech that is out there, the offshoots of Aerotech, which was space fighters, and Battle Space, which was big giant warships. Now, Battle Space and Aerotech they never really took off as much as Battletech, but once FanPro got a hold of WK, WizKids, once they got a hold of the Battletech license, they also got Aerotech and Battle Space, and they unified them into Aerotech 2, which unifies Battle Space, the big giant spaceships, and Aerotech, the space fighters and technically airplanes, and it unifies them together and provides optional rules for using it with the actual Battletech proper board game through various add-ons and companion editions, such as what I'm about to throw on, which is Maximum Tech, which adds weapons and add-ons. And this was produced by FOSSA, which you will notice says Battletech. And then there's the other add-ons, the updates, the companion edition, which allows you to integrate Aerotech 2, Battletech, and the RPG, Mech Warrior. This was the third edition, which they still produce the third edition, and it's all the same, it's just that they've changed this logo to a FanPro logo. This is the field manual updates, and the field manuals are much like what replaced the house books, because the whole political structure of the Battletech universe can best be described as medieval feudalism in space, where giant robots replace knights. And it sounds as ridiculous as you think it does, but it works because it's just so over the top ridiculous. Let's see what else we got over here. I do have the boxes. I gotta move. I gotta make room. Yes, I know I'm manhandling books. If that makes you angry, too bad for you. I'm about to pull out the boxes. I have 4th edition Battletech, which what comes in this box originally is the rule set, the introduction, which tells you all about the mechs and the whatnot. Oh yeah, this is something that I found online back in the early 2000s. It was made by a forum. There is a forum called classicbattletech.com. It's a wonderful place. I haven't been there in over 10 years. But this thing, it's a cheat sheet. It allows you to look through all of these wonderfully, wonderfully complicated rules and boils it down to a simple chart. But yeah, in the Battletech box set you get the record sheets and map sheets and little cardboard mechs. Most people play just with the cardboard mechs. I have a friend who has the second edition of Battletech, and the second edition came with little plastic mechs, but it was a little bit higher quality. But anyway, I have the Battletech box. It came with much of the same thing that you got in the other Battletechs, only it had little paper squares. These came with Battletech 2, and these are just these didn't come with Battletech, they came with Battle Space, but I don't keep Battle Space in the Battle Space box. What I keep in clothes, come on. So much stuff. What I keep in the Battle Space box is map sheets, because they released books and books of map sheets, because that's how this game is played. You either use map sheets or real terrain. I like to use map sheets and miniatures for the reason that map sheets are easier to switch out. You just move paper around, and then you're good to go. So, what else can we cover? Yes. Another thing that's great about Battletech is it makes really good computer games. This was the first computer game that I got when I was about around the same time I got the 3025 technical readout. I was playing MechWarrior 2. In fact, I got the technical readout because of this game. This was, when was this? Early 90s? Oh, yeah. Take a look at that. System requirements. It'll focus. Anyway. Yeah, it says 486, 66 megahertz. At that time, that was blazing fast. Ridiculously blazing fast. Now, I've got all of the MechWarrior games that I've bought, which is MechWarrior 2, like you just saw, the expansion pack, or in today's language, DLC. You didn't download it back then, you went to the store and you bought it as a separate boxed item. And it was basically almost a separate game in and of itself. Basically, you could almost call MechWarrior 2, the MechWarrior 2 expansion pack, MechWarrior 2.5. Now there is another MechWarrior 2 add-on called Mercenaries, but I never bought that one. I didn't know it was out at the time, because back then if you wanted to know what games were out, you went to the game store. And if your particular store didn't have it, well, you weren't buying it. And it was never in stock at any of my game stores. But here we have MechWarrior 3. MechWarrior 3 is amazing, whereas this is fairly arcade-like in its piloting of your giant robots. This plays more like a flight sim. It's got all kinds of buttons and toggles that do things. You can change the way that not only can you change where the arms of your mech is pointing, you can change where its torso is pointing, you can change where you're looking in the cockpit. All kinds of crazy stuff like that. It was amazing, especially since the graphics were so much better, which by today's standards are crap. But hey, that's all we knew. Next we have Mech Commander. Mech Commander 2, actually. I don't have Mech Commander 1. A friend of mine had Mech Commander 1, and I played that and I thought it was awesome. I went to the store. They didn't have Mech Commander 1, but they did have Mech Commander 2. And Mech Commander 2 plays a lot more like the board game, where you're commanding they're called points, a point of mechs. No, points, or I can't remember. Each of the faction has their own names for it. Yeah, that's right. In the BattleTech universe, there's the inner sphere, which is all of the stars around Earth, and then there's the clans, which are these this group of military personnel who defected centuries ago, and then they came back and invaded and thought because they thought they were the superior race or some ridiculous stuff like that. And they have different names for the same thing. In the inner sphere, a group of mechs is called a lance, and in the clans it is called a star. Each mech is a point in a star. There's 5 mechs in a point. There's 4 mechs in a lance. There's a lot of ridiculous military strategy and jargon that goes into the whole BattleTech universe, to the point where it just can get overwhelming. But here we go. MechWarrior 4. MechWarrior 4, it was interesting. It was a little, much like 2, it was a little more arcade-like, but it relied a little bit more on, had a stronger story element, but the shooting and the combat was very solid. It's very well thought out. And it was at the tail end of the era when expansion packs were still a thing. Here we have Black Knight. Black Knight was a set of extra missions for the MechWarrior 4 game. It was extra missions and an extra bit of storyline. And what the last one, if I can get it out of the package here, is the Mercenaries package. And the Mercenaries package, well, it lets you play as a mercenary unit in the BattleTech universe during the same time period as Vengeance and Black Knight. And it is amazing, because giant stompy robots. And here we have the last piece of software that I'm going to show you tonight, and that is the mech packs. Modern day, this would be just pure DLC, something you would go to an online store and click on a page and you'd download it for whatever price. Back then, these things were still sold as physical objects. Again, inner sphere mechs, clan mechs. They had different technology bases in the game, both in the computer game and in the board game. And the game holds up. It's still fun. It still actually functions like a normal game. And if they could update the graphics, it would be indistinguishable from anything that would come out now. But there's not been a good mech game in a long time. Well, I think that's about it. And let's look up here for a second. Yep, that's it. That's all I'm going to drag out for you tonight. Well, this has been Battletech, one of my favorite miniature board games. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, because I really liked it.